Thanks for joining us today to discuss this exciting discussion about how you can capture new recurring revenue and grow your business with unified communications as a service, which we'll call UCaaS, keep it short and sweet, just like Jim and Dave have with their businesses. So with Dave and Jim joining us, we'll discuss how both of those companies have embraced this exploding UCaaS market by adding communications to their portfolios, cloud communications. They'll share their experiences about making this transition, resulting in a new growing monthly recurring revenue business, which we all know is very valuable for organizations today. I'll also share with you a little bit about Intermedia's flexible partner program, which eliminates risk for you entering this new booming market as your customers continue to transition to the cloud in a hybrid workplace. So a lot of things have changed over the past couple years, and it's been very good for our industry, as one might imagine. Now, before we get into the panel discussion with Jim and Dave, I want to go ahead and take a few minutes to share a little bit of some data points about some market opportunity for you guys to kind of set the stage for our conversation today. We'll skip that slide. The first thing, and this is going to be no surprise to anyone on the call today, but print volumes have been in decline. So no surprise. Just wanted to start with something that you all know very well, and something that we realize that you are struggling with, in your businesses for your customers, and finding new ways to drive revenue is critical to the healthy organization to grow, to modernize some revenue streams, capture new opportunities. So picking a new market obviously makes sense, an adjacent technology, and picking something that's booming. Before we get into the market and all that, I figured we'd take a moment and just make sure everybody's on the same page regarding what is unified communications. So unified communications as a service is a cloud-based service that's delivered. And essentially, it's an intuitive, consistent experience and interface for all users. Since it's delivered from the cloud, it's kind of ubiquitous. It's everywhere on any device that a user needs to communicate. And it's really all the things that everyone on this call already uses day in and day out. And that's kind of the beauty of why UCaaS makes sense, why it's relatively easy to add to your business, because these are productivity and collaboration tools that you already use today from your desktop, from your mobile devices, from people at home, wherever they may be. And you have the capabilities for video, communications, webinar in this case, file sharing, telephony, making and receiving phone calls, which everyone's been doing for many, many years, and some other modes of communication like chat and instant messaging with each other and things like that. So there's a whole host of communications that are pulled into a single platform, and all these communications, all these technologies really fall under this unified communications as a service. They all used to be individually separate technologies that you would adopt, and many companies had adopted them all separately. But now there's a shift towards a platform bringing all these things together into one unified experience, hence unified communications. So, is there growth in this opportunity that we're talking about? And the answer is yes, it is significant. There was a recent survey done by Morgan Stanley, and they just released it last week. And they were talking about the unified communications as a service market. Some of the big players and the stock prices have really, really been hit pretty hard by some of the major players out there. So they were kind of doing a survey, and put a pretty good article about the survey. And a couple of the notable things that I wanted to call out is they surveyed some number of end customers and asked them during the pandemic, since there was a huge boom in people deploying cloud communications technology, video capabilities, enabling people to work from home when everyone was forced completely out of the office. And now everyone's got the hybrid workforces. Some of the people are in the office that have to be. Some people are in the office sometimes, at home sometimes. Some people work remote 100% of the time. So this is the new hybrid work environment, right? People could be anywhere at any time, and nobody is really anywhere all the time these days. Travel's getting back to normal, as it were. So when they surveyed these folks, 51% of the people said they had upgraded their systems within the past 2 years, their telephony systems, their phone systems, that they had upgraded them within the past 2 years. Makes sense that half at least would have done some upgrades. The interesting thing is, of those customers, that 51%, only a little over half of them actually adopted a business phone solution from the cloud. So I thought that was interesting. That kind of surprised me that, net, really only about 28% of those customers have really moved to cloud communications in some form or fashion. So that means the opportunity is 72% of those respondents haven't moved. So there's a lot of opportunity, and that's just with that segment. And this is pretty consistent. There's a massive base of customers out there, your customers that you already have today, that have phone systems. We call them premise-based phone systems. So they were the box in the back room that many of you may be familiar with. You open that closet or the IT room, and you see the thing hanging on the wall. There are approximately 431 million business telephony users globally. Of that entire market base of a lot of users, only about 17 million have already moved to a UCaaS platform. And there's another the slightly larger circle there, the 126 million. They're leveraging some sort of cloud-based business telephony. So maybe it's just a hosted VoIP service where they're really just getting telephony, and they haven't really moved to a full UCaaS solution that incorporates everything I was just describing a moment ago. So the UCaaS market is huge, growing rapidly, and as we all know, a good solution provider or business owner, you want to leverage trends and shift along with the market and capture an opportunity where there is growth and plenty of it left. And that is the situation with the UCaaS market today. It's massive. It's growing rapidly. There's plenty of runway left, and that was one of the notes on the Morgan Stanley article that they posted, saying that there's a lot more runway. And now that things have normalized a little bit, and yeah, it's not that explosive growth, license growth as we saw right during that pandemic, but now things have stabilized, and people that had deployed point solutions, this for messaging and this for chat and this for telephony and all these different pieces, now they're looking to consolidate to a single platform to help their entire business. So a lot of runway to go. A lot of people have not done that consolidation yet. And that's why we're here today and talking with Jim and Dave. So gentlemen, if you could join us here on the video, that would be fantastic. And we'll have ourselves a little conversation, ask you guys a few questions, and really appreciate you guys. First and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experiences and your knowledge with our audience today. So welcome to the webinar, Dave and Jim, and thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
All right. So before I'm going to ask you guys some questions, but all the guests on the call, feel free to use the chat or the question button. You can ask questions at the top of the screen. Pose your own questions as well. We'll cover those at the end of the webinar. Okay, so first question. Let's go to Dave, and could you, for the audience here, describe your decision-making process in deciding on adding a UCaaS solution to your portfolio?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had taken a look and heard from a lot of our partners that we rub shoulders with in the dealer channel, that a lot of partners were taking a look at UCaaS as, like you mentioned, Patrick, a way to supplement or hedge off that decline of print. And specifically, when we looked at it, we saw a commonality within the dealer channel of intermedia, and a lot of dealers were hearing presentations, experiencing and having great experiences with intermedia. We liked the fact that intermedia had local sales support, and had a very kind of hands-on mentoring type of approach. So, we were very comfortable in engaging with intermediate. It took us a little time to feel the confidence to jump into it, but and we may have missed that kind of pandemic window, if you will. But soon after we got our confidence, we were off and running.
Mhm. Okay. And were you considering any other technologies at the time when you decided, hey, we're going to go for UCaaS?
We did talk to several other vendors, but like I said, the commonality was is that um, Intermedia understood our space, understood the print space, understood the reoccurring revenue, how loyal our clients are. They, really kind of had a vehicle for our sales team for us to train our sales team and get them certified, which we believe was a huge plus in terms of how do we get our sales team ramped up. We chose to even pick out some of our stronger support people and service technicians and have them go through the sales training and get certified as well. So we liked that. We liked the fact that Intermedia kind of had everything set up for us to launch quickly.
Right. Okay. Great. Jim, same question to you. What was your decision making process like when you decided to add UCAS to your portfolio?
You know, I think what you mentioned in your presentation that print, depending on how you approach it, a decline in the general office, and there's opportunities in production and MPS and all those things. I think we all know that, but we're always looking for an additional add-on revenue source that kind of fits with our model, what we do, our approach to customers. You know, we thought cloud-based PBX was probably something that would fit our model. We were getting feedback from customers. We were getting asked, for the traditional premise-based system sometimes if we did that, because as some of those providers of that equipment kind of went out of the market, we had a few of our competitors coming in with solutions like this and approaching our customers. So maybe it was a defensive move, maybe it was an offensive move, but both, at least we saw the opportunity there. And then when we analyze if a solution is a fit for capital, we look at a couple of things, right? So we always want MRR. There has to be an aftermarket revenue. So the monthly recurring revenue piece, that's the most important thing. It starts with that. And then we like things that attach to the network because that's something we have expertise in. If it has hardware and installation services, that's something we provide, some delivery and on site on the front end. And then, sold by a professional sales team, somebody that is sold in a manner that you go out and you get the sale by calling on the customers. The other things we're looking at is solid technology. We understand simply enough that we can understand it and at the same time has growth potential. Um, and then, looking for a partner that has the right programs in place, right? You can have the best technology, but if it doesn't compensate you correctly, if they don't have the support structure, as Dave mentioned, that understanding of our channel, then it's very hard to make any money in that business. And then knowing a little bit about phone, having been in this business just for a little bit in the 80s and 90s with the phone business, somebody who handles the taxes, the sourcing of the lines, the number transfers, all of those kind of things, because those things are horrible to deal with. And it's good to have a partner who's going to take that and run with it for you.
Mhm. Yeah, so knowing that kind of upfront kind of narrows the field a little bit and will be a good segue to our next question in just a moment. The things that you guys just mentioned we're all really consistent with what we hear from a lot of our partners, of which we have many who use those same reasons for why they chose UCAS. It is something everybody uses. It's relatively straightforward. It's not rocket science. And you think about the different things you could have chosen to add to your business. Cybersecurity is really complex. I mean, how many of your salespeople use cybersecurity day in and day out? So can they really relate to it? Man, that's really a tougher practice to build and requires a lot of different expertise outside of your core business and just what people use and see and interact with on a day-to-day basis. So when you guys decide, all right, we're going to add UCAS, and we got to go find a vendor. You both heard about Intermedia, so you kind of start alluding some of those things. So Jim, just continuing with you for a moment. How you decided on intermedia specifically, if you could share that and talk about your experience, warts and all, just to be fair with everybody. It's not all, rainbows and sunshine all the time, but, if there were any challenges you may have had. So if you could just describe how you decide on intermediate specifically, what that onboarding process was like as you built the practice.
So we have an M&S business. It's not a big M&S business, managed IT. And we'd been using Intermedia as our email provider, Office 365, Exchange email, cloud-based, as well as Office 365. And it really had a good experience. We were already a client using that internally as well as with our customers. So we were familiar with the portal. We were familiar with the company. We're familiar with the billing, capabilities and all those things. The first thing we did is we implemented it in our offices first. We went one location at a time, voice and video. We've been a video conference user for 16 years or so. We have these remote offices and we've always believed in video conferencing. So found the solution to just be better than everything we'd ever used and easy to implement in our own offices, which sometimes our offices can be the worst. Our own admin can be the toughest on these kind of things. And they just had positives from the start about it. So we looked at that and we said, okay, let's launch it to the M&S team. There's a few people who sell that in combination with selling some other things in our company. So we approached our existing M&S clients first. And, within 3-6 months, got 40% of those converted, those who are in the right position financially or contractually to be able to move. We saw the success there. And we came to the solution. I think you said it, Patrick. This is not that complicated. You can make it complicated, but most of what people do with it every day is relatively straightforward. So we launched it to the full sales team at that point. As with anything software, whether it's PaperCut or these other solutions, eGoldFax, any of these things some of us sell, a couple of the reps took off with it and really just started having success. And so we, kept kind of implementing it from that standpoint. The warts, we were selling clients, booking business, ordering the service, but not getting it installed in a timely manner. So the time from making the sale to starting to bill the client was excessive, right? That became an issue, we realized, because we were being billed, but we weren't passing on that billing. So we promoted somebody to kind of a systems engineer, subject matter expert role for onboarding, pre and post sales to narrow that gap. And I would say that was one of the key things that we learned early in the process, that we were going to need that in order to keep that billing where we were. The moment that we were being billed, we were billing the client at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a critical element, having somebody in place to kind of handle this operational pre and post sales for sure is a big deal. So lesson learned on that one. David, same to you. If you could describe how you decide on intermediate specifically and what your experiences were through onboarding to build a practice.
Yeah, our implementation was very much like what Jim had explained. We're a firm believer in, eating our own cooking. So if we're selling it to our clients, if we understand it and use it daily internally at Gobins, then we're going to sell stronger and we're going to feel more confident in that product. So we likewise also implemented it company-wide, contact center and everything. One of the challenges that we had was the market understanding of what it is. We serve kind of a rural market in southern Colorado, and unified communications is definitely not a well-known term in our market. So it was more education to our market and to our customers of what this looked like and what the benefits were, and that you get your own video bridge with each user license, and what that means. And so we really kind of took the approach that we wanted to show how Gobins used it internally, rather than setting up a generic demo or something like that. We kept it kind of in-house and mastered our demo skills on the sales side to show exactly how our sales team uses it, how our accounting team uses it, what type of things go through chat that normally would have gone through email that could be responded quicker. The fact that you can see if users are on or not, or the do not disturbs, those type of things. I think that's one thing that we struggled with right out of the gate is we thought everybody wanted to buy a new phone system. Well, they don't understand that it's more than that and that there's more value than that.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And in different areas of the country, you mentioned your rural market. You're right. There are some who are doing their research. They're ahead of it. That's widely deployed. Everybody they know is deploying it, and they're following suit. And then you have other parts of the market who are, what are you talking about? I got a phone, works. What else do I need? And little do they know, that they have problems that they weren't even aware of yet. Life could be so much better, more modern technology. So interesting. So you both deployed NFR first. We also see that when we look at the things that partners do, new partners do. The first thing is eat your own dog food, drink your own champagne, whatever you want to talk it, make everybody a walking demo, and everybody can speak to the benefits and how they use it every day. And it's really easy to show a demo when they pull out their own phone, right? So, well, let me show you how I use it. You don't need to call an SE sales engineer or someone else. You can do them on the fly anywhere you go. So that's great. All right, well, David, while I got you, and I heard you mention you deployed some of our contact center technologies as well. So that's a critical part of cloud communications that a lot of people on the phone on this webinar here. See, I just did it. I said phones, not phone at all. These contact center capabilities are key attributes and key capabilities of our platform that we have that can really help you guys and the folks on this call who build a practice with Intermedia to be able to differentiate and actually solve bigger problems than just looking at communication cost. So the fact that you deployed, the contact center capabilities in your own business to communicate more effectively with your customers, which is what contact center capabilities do, certainly I'm sure has helped you guys to gain the benefits internally, but also help to articulate the value to your customers. So while I got you, David, next question: what questions do your sales teams use to uncover UCaaS opportunities? And particularly, now that you've kind of built the practice, but that's usually one of the first areas we'll focus on is taking people who are not used to selling unified communications as a service and educating those right out the gate. Like, here's how you uncover opportunities. So what questions do your sales team use to find these new opportunities in your market?
Yeah, so we take an approach. It's not necessarily traditional of probing a bunch of questions and things like that. We take more of a softer approach with our client base of that education, and let us show you how we use it. Of course, we host webinars assisted with or without Intermedia. Intermedia offers that to their partners. Hosted webinars. We do lunch and learns. We do a lunch and learn a little different because we are rural. We like to host and kind of do a seed the market with the big webinars in terms of that, and invite the populace of our markets to attend, and then we send the sales team out to deliver the reimbursement or gift card or whatever it is for the lunch that we've promised them. That seems to be a very good sales tool because it creates a follow-up conversation where we can get feedback. And then on the smallest level, we ask our sales team to have the Elevate app on their cell phone. They go into sales calls all day long, and show that client the strength of the Elevate app. Show them how that works, and the video, and also the fact that in some markets, or excuse me, in some industries, there is an attraction to be able to SMS text somebody without disclosing your personal cell phone. And so, we try to key in on that. Um, some of the verticals that we've really attacked is education. We've done very well in education. It seems like they've had the money, but also had the need to make changes, antiquated systems, things like that. So
Gotcha. All right. So some vertical focus, educating everyone, letting them know what's out there, what capabilities are out there, and then equipping the sales team and just show them. Seeing is believing, right?
yeah,
And then
exactly.
draw them in that way. Got it. All right, Jim. How about you? What's your approach? For your sales teams, what are they doing to uncover UCaaS opportunities?
So I think the first thing is I think Intermedia has some great launch training for imaging sales reps, and having some understanding of our channel. I think they were able to, and kind of from a training standpoint, sales reps. It's every time you have the sales meeting, some of them get it on the first try, some of them get it on the fifth, some never get it. But to keep talking about it, and to talk about success stories, and where was an application that I ran into it, and this is what I talked to the customer about, and sharing that. um, Creating from our marketing standpoint, some kind of success profile of what that looked like on a particular account. uh, Basic questions and visual cues are clues are a big part of this as well, right? Those of us who have been around the copier industry can walk in a room and we notice the copier, right? And so teaching them to walk in the room and notice the phone. And there are certain things that when you see it, it's like, well, that probably needs to be a conversation I should at least be having with these people. Um, if they uncover something, we don't want them to have a lot. We're not trying to get a lot of details. If we find something, we want them immediately to get a subject matter expert involved, or one of the resources from Intermedia on the Sell With program that we're on. One of those things, get them involved for detailed questions, but usually that's not the initial. Our reps, having the background in imaging that they do, they're good at asking about things like, what's your acquisition cost for the last time you bought a phone system? What are your long distance costs? What are you doing? What are your line costs, video conferencing and data syncing? Just getting some of that information on the, initial, maybe not on an initial call, but later down the road, gathering some of that data. But initially, you can at least find out, well, they're on Plano telephone lines or something like that. Um, and they start to recognize where that opportunity is. So I think in presenting it to the customers, a lot of it is in business reviews for existing accounts, to where we just go in and we say, these are the things that Capital provides. And one of those things is voice communications, as well as video and data syncing. And, what are you currently doing about that? Try to understand their business and try to see if we have a solution that can make that better.
Right. Yeah. Good point with your existing base. That's the gold mine. I mean, I'm sure you guys have found out that that is the gold mine, to be able to go back. It's so much more profitable to go after your base of customers you already have, right, and continue to sell new things rather than going out and just trying to find new ones. It's a mix of both, of course, but leveraging a base where you've already got the relationship and the trust, and it's certainly a really effective way to sell a new service that you're offering. And good news is everybody needs it, especially these days. So it definitely helps create some sales velocity, as we've seen with many of our other partners. That fair to say with you guys, has that been, before we get to the next question, I guess just a moment, targeting your base of customers, has that been effective for you guys?
Yeah, I would say definitely it's been a good thing for us. Like I say, through that process of just talking to the clients, it's also been a good, the one thing the pandemic did is made a lot of people interested in these types of products and services, right? So it's also been our most responsive marketing leads and that kind of thing. When we were cold calling, it seems to be one of the biggest responses, positive responses we get. So in both ways, those have both been good.
Right. Yeah, Dave. So same with well, along the lines of your approach and questions your sales teams are using in educating. Are these a lot of your existing base customers that you're educating and targeting for those engagements?
Yeah, a lot of it's our existing base, but not necessarily our largest customers, right? So, sometimes they may have a small MFP, but they have a 10 user or 20 user need for intermedia, which so the equation between the business that you can get on the imaging side may not reflect the same amount of revenue that you could get on the UCaaS side, right? So there are times and there are customers that have a more of a communication need than a print need, and so we try even on a when we're out and we don't have that customer on the imaging side, it's not one of our customers. We still want to have that communication or that UCaaS type conversation, that education with them, so that they know we're a provider for not just imaging, which we're known for, and I think Jim's
Mm,
organization is too, but that we're known for more than that.
right. Yeah, broader conversation. All right, fantastic. So next question. So we've got some businesses on the webinar today. Maybe they're interested in adding UCaaS to their solution portfolio. What advice would you give them? We'll start with Jim on this one. What advice would you give to folks considering adding UCaaS?
I'd say back to that, having someone who's that pre-sales onboarding resource, right, who has an understanding. Surprising, this is not super hard to learn. I've compared it many times to fax, right? If you understand fax, it only does so many things. It hasn't done a lot of new things in the past, that it's been doing for 20, 30 years. And this is the same. So you have somebody who's got and then that capability on the IT side of this that you need. But having somebody who's that go-to person, that builds the confidence with the sales reps and then helps them not feel like they need to answer complex questions or go research that, because that may not be where they're all comfortable, making sure that you have them comfortable. Pick the right partner. That's always, we've picked wrong partners over the years. I think we picked the right one here. Someone who's got staying power in the market, has a considerable business, support structure in place when we need assistance, when we need help, somewhere to go. And, that understanding of our channel piece again, to where this is what our sales group looks like, and this is what our technical group looks like, and recognizes that in our billing capabilities. As always with anything you launch, get the comp and the quota assignment right to get the reps interested, keep them interested. If they don't think it's of their useful for their time, the compensation isn't fair, of course they won't pursue it. At the same time, it's the stick and the carrot, right? You got to put the carrot out there. If it doesn't work, then what are the things that push them to do this as well? And then audit the bills. Intermedia is going to try to do their best to get this all right, but this is a complex thing. You got all these taxes and all of these, unlike an MFP, if you sell an MFP in an office, in many instances, it doesn't change for 5 years, right? In our territory anyway, that seems to be pretty stable in there, where, they can be adding and deleting users all the time in this business. So making sure that we're following through as we're doing those things and making sure that bill follows through. And we've got that all correct between the two. We've got all that corrected and compensated for.
Excellent. All right. Yeah, sound advice. David, to you, what advice would you provide for those interested
Yeah,
in adding UCaaS?
yeah, I will add. This is if you're going to use your copier reps, and that's a decision you're going to have to make up front. Some organizations use their M&S people, their M&S salespeople. Some people use their copier reps. We chose to use our copier sales team, and sales training was huge for us. How do we teach the old dogs the new trick, right? How do we get them started and jump started where they're not over promising and under delivering? And again, that's one of the biggest pluses that we saw with partnering with Intermedia. The second thing is the marketing side of it. We needed to again seed, and we needed to educate our market that we were a provider and we were in this space. And with all access and the individual type marketing pieces that are to our disposal, the overall and the welcoming of hosting webinars, those type of things, and then simply we knew dealers in the channel that were further ahead of us and that we could lean on and make some phone calls. I agree 100% with everything Jim said. Definitely have to have one guy at least that's understanding it, can educate um, the rest of the team, whether it's the service team or whether it's the accounting people. But on the sales side, to get it launched as quick as possible, the sales training was huge for us.
Gotcha. All right. So yeah, if you're going to leverage a team that's not used to selling it, you got to train them how to sell it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Especially when you got a lot of them out there that are good at what they do and just learning a couple new tricks. So that's great advice from you both there. Appreciate the shout outs as well, of course, about how Intermedia does better. We're going to talk about that in just a moment as well. So finally, for Dave, while we're talking here, is there any particular Intermedia resource tool that has been really instrumental? Is there one person or resource or any tool that has been instrumental for you? I know you mentioned the sales training a few times. What's been the most instrumental for you?
Yeah, I would reiterate the sales training, but on top of that, the support. Early on, we went out and we stumbled across one of our by far one of our largest deals now, and we did not have the infrastructure in place. It just kind of fell into our lap, and here we are. And it was a sizable implementation, and one of the resources and tools is that we got assigned an engineer on the intermedia side, and they built out contact center for us. They met with the client, the end user, the IT team. That was very, very resourceful, very useful. It was a great implementation, and certainly, that is one area of our relationship that we really enjoy is the support side. We know that if we get into a pickle, that there's somebody there that we can either go to our local rep or he will up channel it to an engineer or a teammate.
Got it. Good. Yeah, support. You're right. Man, deployments and support. Notably, that's one of the things when in the market of unified communications as a service, it's a software as a service application, really. So there's this whole industry out there under SaaS, lots of different applications you can have, and UCaaS in particular has a bad reputation when it comes to deployments and support. For end customers, it's challenging out there. So one of the things that we are able to differentiate in combination with that white glove support provided through our partners, the two of us together are able to deliver much better experience for deployments and support ongoing. So it really addresses that challenge in the market. Appreciate you calling out support. Jim, how about you?
Well,
Any
I would say
particular
one
resource or tool?
resource or two. I'd say number one is channel manager, right? That's what you guys call them. They call them partner business managers at places like Canon or Rico or whatever. And we all know that person who deals with our company and supports us. And having that person who took the time, came in, meets the sales team, does training, those kind of things, as well as points us to the right technical resources early on. And uh, Dave's description of what happened is a little similar to us. We stumbled into something larger than any of us were comfortable with, but nonetheless, we moved forward with it. But we felt comfortable because we knew Intermedia. We know we'd done some big exchange migrations and that kind of stuff, and we knew they had the technical know-how behind there, and they were there to help us with that as we were kind of launching this thing. Today, we would probably very easily do everything ourselves. But at that time, whatever level of support was really there. The training, the portal, going back to that from a technical standpoint and quoting the customer early on when we didn't kind of understand that, having that ability within that system to provide accurate quotes that worked out for everybody involved. That was good to have that from a pricing standpoint once you had the interest, and then somebody who could look over the bigger ones and say, that looks correct. That looks like everything you're going to need on that. And then training and marketing data, so we did like Dave said, I have to go along with that as well. We're known as what we are, an imaging print dealer, copiers. Talking to customers about this, took some marketing materials and some information on, doing email things to our existing base and some of those things, but getting the materials that kind of describe that and having something to help our marketing person. There was a lot of material available from Intermedia on that portal, on the training site.
Excellent. Awesome. All right. Well, guys, this was really useful interaction and information, insight, sharing your experiences. As I mentioned to everyone a little bit ago, we have these questions with Dave and Jim, and then I'll go ahead and provide some information. I see some questions posted in the webinar. We'll get to those. Some of those will be answered with a couple of slides coming up here. But Dave and Jim, thanks again for the conversation today. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the partnership above all else. This is an example of what a good partnership looks like. We value the partnership, and I'm really thankful that you are helping to share your experiences with your peers and others. Thank you very much for your time today. We'll go ahead and absolutely. So a little bit about some of the questions, the things that you heard Jim and Dave say just a moment ago about some of the resources that Intermedia provides. I want to take just a few minutes before we go and answer your specific questions about what that looks like, how we go to market, how we're different, how we help you grow your business and maintain ownership of your customers. We like to say we make the crazy simple. So as I mentioned earlier, people have deployed a lot of different solutions, have a lot of solutions in their environment for video conferences. They have phone systems. They have some kind of email service. They've got, maybe a contact center need. They're using something for file storage and sharing. They've got security. Then they're using something for instant messaging and chat, both internally and externally. It could be two different things. So a lot of different applications. And now what customers are looking for and partners can deliver with Intermedia is a simple single communications platform that is easy to sell and support and really easy to deploy and use for customers. So that's really important. Ease of use, adoption. If it's complicated, people aren't going to use it. They don't get the ROI, and then they're not ecstatic. So operationalizing this within a partner organization, we make it very easy. You heard some of the things in a moment ago about how easy it can be, and I'm going to explain over the next few minutes how we make it easy, how we do what it is we do, and know that you're delivering a modern, intuitive solution that customers want, what they're expecting today in a single platform. One of the questions in the chat was about, is this available via private label? That is the most common choice that our partners make. There are two essential go-to-market options that Intermedia provides to our partners. On the right side of the screen, the advisor model. This is selling. It's really the sales model where Intermedia does the billing and support of customers, and you are able to sell the solution with support from Intermedia, of course. But you essentially are able to quote and sell the solution. You get a upfront and ongoing commissions for those sales, and Intermedia handles all the deployment, the support, and the billing to those customers. So this is an advisor. If you're familiar with the agent model that's prevalent in our space, this is similar to that, just a little bit more autonomy in the sales process, I would say. It's a great way to get started. Or if you really just don't want to handle any billing and support, you just want to be able to have something to offer and the commissions are great, then it's a permanent lane that a lot of companies will stick with. We've seen with our copier dealer channels that they generally go to the left side of the screen, and that's the customer ownership reseller model. This is that private label option where you are bundling this with your managed services or managed print solutions, your monthly recurring solutions that you're offering. You're bundling in this UCaaS, these capabilities that we've been talking about. You set the price, you take that top line revenue, which is extremely valuable, and increase your own business valuation. When you do all the math of top line revenue and margin versus just a commission stream, and who owns the customer, which if you own the customer, you're billing and supporting them, that actually increases your business valuation 16 times over selling as an advisor or agent. So the choices are yours as a partner, which way you want to go. Most of our partners do go the core route. They may start as an advisor just to sell a couple of deals, get familiar with the solution, and then move right over to the core. And then many partners through our excellent enablement onboarding program will start right with that core model. So, why intermedia in particular? What do we do? I mean, ultimately, especially as you're considering a new line of business, you got to be thinking about that risk. You got to minimize risk or maximize your revenue opportunity, and that's what intermedia does. Like I say, we work for you, and we enable you to choose a customer ownership model or advisor. You can even make those choices on a deal by deal basis. Maybe there's a particular customer that's too big or has a service requirement that you can't meet 24/7 or something like that to take their calls. You could sell that opportunity as an advisor, and intermediate handle the billing and support, or so you can make that on a deal by deal basis. You're not stuck in a lane with intermedia where you have the ultimate flexibility. Doesn't cost anything to get started from intermedia. The certification is free. The training, the technical certification, sales training, it's online, self-paced. The demo system is free, so it's very easy to get started. So it's a very very low risk environment to get started in. The margins are healthy. We provide free devices for our partners and customers included with every license. So when you tailor a solution, you're quoting something, it's right in our portal. As Jim was mentioned a moment ago, really easy to get a nice proposal and a quote for all the licenses in there. You can choose from free devices that you want to offer to your customers. You can choose to mark those up and make some additional margin dollars. You can pass them through free. The commercial terms between you and your customer are yours to determine what's right for your business, what's right for that deal. Really, we have our relationship is a month-to-month relationship between us and you. There's no long-term contract, so you get to determine how you go to market with your customers with a very operationally efficient platform. So whether it's quoting, pre-qualifying, making sure that they're in an area that we can take their phone number and port over to the new system, as an example, or monitor their quality of service, or any of your customers having problems, you can be alerted to those things so that your managed services group or IT group or whoever is, wherever this falls within your business, they can be alerted to problems, kind of have a dashboard, a built-in knock, if you will, as part of our platform. So very operationally efficient. Some of the ways that we provide billing information and integrations to things like ConnectWise get even more efficient for some of the things that can be challenging, like billing, for example. Without you having to worry about the regulatory and tax headaches. This is a big one. If you've looked at white labeling or private labeling, any kind of telephony or UCaaS services in the past, you may have stopped when you realized what it took to have systems in place to calculate telecom taxes based on the exact location of all the users, and which is more important today than ever. The users are everywhere. So we enable you to sell into all 50 states without worrying about or even understanding telecom taxes, quite frankly, and not having to register and do all the regulatory compliance. There's a whole host of things that you really don't have to know anything about with intermedia. With others, you have to put in systems in place and pay third-party companies to help you with these things and do all the filings. It's quite a lot of work. Our support. You heard a couple times that our support was that we provide a high level of support, and we're the only UCaaS provider that has a JD Power certification for our technical support. So we prove it every day that we're meeting certain guidelines and SLAs and first call resolutions, where we're taking good care of our customers and our partners who fill out post interaction surveys, for example. So we maintain very high level customer satisfaction scores, and 9.6 to 9.8 ranges for onboardings and for support calls. And we have a net promoter score of 83, which is unheard of in the UCaaS industry. So, good support is really important. We make you look good. And we're also going to support your sales and marketing efforts, as you heard quite a bit about today. So we'll sell with you. You're not on an island by yourself. We're going to help you grow your business and have a whole marketing automation platform that's built. You can use as much of it as you want. It is at no cost to our partners, and it is full of private label, branded, unbranded, vertical campaigns, email campaigns, you name it, all kinds of collateral. You don't have to create any content for this. We've got you covered. Just stick your logo in the system and everything gets branded for you and go to market. Of course, we're going to help you do that as well. And I mentioned a moment ago, no long-term contracts. This is really important. We build our partners on a month-to-month. Whether or not you sell long-term contracts to your customers, your call. But we're going to have no long-term annual contract commitments between us and our partners, and that allows you just to focus on selling, do what's right for your customers, and not be on the hook for something after the fact. So really, hopefully that information helps you guys to understand very briefly how Intermedia uniquely helps copier dealers and others minimize risk and really capitalize on the opportunity that is in front of us, which is significant. And we're seeing significant growth as our partners are as a result. So let's go over to some questions that we have. Noel, or let's see, I'm looking at the questions.
Yeah.
What's the first question?
The first question is from David. How do you comp your sales reps to incentivize to help their business to grow?
That's a great question, and one of the most critical parts. I don't know if Dave has a specific answer to that. I know it is something that we do provide some consulting to partners to help with that. But Dave, sounds like that question was to you.
Yeah, you bet. So I'll tell you, at the compensation when we were getting it out of the gates was a little bit of a challenge, and what we did there was we would compensate on the term of the contract. So, if it's a 36-month contract, we would multiply that by a certain percentage. And then if there was, the first year would be compensated higher than the second and third year, and so on, if it was a 5-year contract likewise. And that would just be an overall percentage paid out up front to the sales rep, and not an annuity or anything like that every month. And then we've now switched to more of a gross profit type comp plan with some circumstantial promotions there if it's a certain size or it occurs within when we are trying to push business that way, then there may get more percentage of the GP, or we may, if it happens during one of our blitzes, our sales blitzes, or one of our organized webinars, and it was a contact off of one of those efforts, then we might compensate even more. Hope that helps.
Gotcha. Thanks for that feedback. As I mentioned, as a part of our enablement program, or for partners that are looking to build a practice and go to market, very intentional, and put some staff in place and really make this a concerted effort of practice within your organization. We do provide some examples of what some of our partners are doing out there in the field to put compensation in place. It would be one of the top 3 things that needs to be done in order to build a successful practice of anything you're going to do. The first thing you got to do is make sure your salespeople are incentivized to sell what you're investing in a practice in your organization. If they're not selling, you're not going to get your return. You're not going to get the growth. You're not going to capitalize. So sales compensation, putting the right expertise in place. You got to have somebody in the organization that kind of knows a bit about this to really build that practice, that core private label practice. You got somebody in there that can support sales and make sure deployments go well, and address any operational issues within the organization. Would definitely be the one of the top 3 as well. And deploying the NFR I'd say those are some of the three top things I would say. Use the technology yourself so everybody understands it fundamentally, and that will definitely allow you to not just sell it more effectively, but be able to support it more effectively as well. Everyone is using it. Noel, do we have another question?
Yeah, this one is actually for you, Patrick. So, how do you compete against the Comcasts and Verizons that offer a bundled UCaaS with their internet offering?
I can tell you one of the first things that would be easy to compete on is the support level. So tell them to go find some happy customers. So our combination. So from a product perspective, our product competes very well and shows much better than the two mentioned in particular. Our capabilities for the end user, just the user experience when they see a demo, they will absolutely love our platform compared to many of the providers out there, specifically those. But the support that they're going to get, that's co-delivered, with you if you're doing the private label and your local white glove approach and relationship. I mean, that's a really big deal that customers really value. You've got a lot of those customers relationships today, so that white glove value add support on top of a solid platform backed by excellent support from us and 5.9 service level agreements, so they know they're getting a good, reliable service. Those things allow you to take down deals against all the competition. You look at who the top players are in the market when it comes to UCaaS. Our partners are beating those. Every day they're beating those competitors, and it's that whole story. It's the story of how you built your business, the services that you're delivering that your customers appreciate, that they're already paying you for other things, so they know you. So when you take that and you add, the intermedia behind the scenes to it, it's a win-win, sure.
And some of the other questions were related actually to the partner program that you addressed, and it was related to who invoices, who handles the taxes, and if there was a private label. So I think you already preempted those questions in your presentation, Patrick.
Yep, absolutely. So white label is the most common. I saw a question just pop up. What brand is the hardware solution? So the handsets. So we actually support an array of bring your own phone devices, but we actually do provide Yealink and Polycom through our portal, and they're automatically provisioned. When you provision them as part of our operational efficiencies, right? You create a quote, convert it to an account, create your users, add your devices, and then the phones go out pre-provisioned, ready to go. And that's a selection of Polycom or Poly, and Yealink devices, headsets, speakers, phones, things like that.
I think we're down to the last question because I think we're about to run out of time. But it was a staffing level question. What staff levels do you need, and distribution of staff? For example, how many salespeople to marketing to implementation engineers?
Yeah, so
Uh,
that's going to depend. Yeah, it's going to depend on how fast you want to go and how much you're going to lean into it. And every organization is different. So certainly something that we consult and advise on all the time. I mean, generally you're going to start with a person who can help support your sales teams and make sure that the things get to deployment well. You're going to have a person or two in the managed services side or the deployment side that's going to handle programming users and make sure things go, they get installed well, and they can take support calls well. Beyond that, somebody has to manage marketing. So usually there's somebody or half of somebody. The most successful ones have somebody who just does marketing. So that's usually, where you kind of get started at a minimum, I'd say, if you're looking to build a practice and go with that private label and build that customer ownership reseller practice at a minimum. So, and then train your salespeople, of course. And then we help augment that.